Your former students are lost now, old man. Scattered across the farthest reaches of the merged lands. Now nothing will stand in my way.
Holy crap. I mean, holy crap. So I just got done my third rewatch of Ninjago Dragons Rising Season 3 Part 2, and I am still filled with so many mixed emotions and thoughts. For one, if that ending is to mean anything, and what we know about Season 4 already, we are in for an absolutely insane season, and possibly some huge nostalgia going into Season 4 of Dragons Rising, but we'll talk about that more later on. Season 3 Part 1 left me at an all-time high when it comes to Ninjago, especially Dragons Rising. I absolutely loved it. It left me in a way that I haven't felt since Sons of Garmadon, although the Blood Moon was extremely close. I think in hindsight, the Blood Moon stuff is a lot better, but we are all aware of the Part 2 curse. Happened with Season 1, happened with Season 2, so what about Season 3? Now, I did give a little bit of my thoughts in this video, but in this video I'm going to be giving a full breakdown of the season and my thoughts throughout this review. When it comes to Part 2, I was extremely hopeful that this part would blow me away and wouldn't be a disappointment like the Tournament of Sources. And in some aspects, it most certainly did. There were plenty of fantastic character moments and fight scenes throughout the entire part. The Lee storyline is one of my new favorite all-time arcs in the franchise, and I cannot wait to dive into it later on into the video, because seriously, this arc was so much fun. It's going to be one of my most rewatched episodes of Ninjago ever. I had such a good time with it. Just as there were many aspects of this part I liked, a bit of that Part 2 curse did kind of creep in here, especially towards the end. So Dork Squad, buckle up and hit that subscribe button, and warning, full spoilers are ahead for Season 3 Part 2. If you have not seen it yet, go check it out and then come back to the video. So now that we got that out of the way, let's begin Part 1, the Dragon Icon arc. So, quick little note, the way I'm going to be going about this video is as I'm recapping the series and giving my thoughts on it, I'm breaking off each individual storyline into what I'm dubbing as their own little arcs. Beginning with, as I said, the Dragon Icon arc, which sees a continuation of the Eren and Roz storyline from Part 1, with Sora as a new addition, shedding some light on this honestly depressing duo, if I do say so myself. Now, if you're new here, you might not know, but I've never really been a big fan of the Eren and Sora characters. They just never really clicked with me. But Eren took a huge step up in Season 3 Part 1, and I really started to enjoy his character. The writing was great, the voice acting especially was really great, and most importantly, he stopped whining about not having elemental powers for most of that part. And not to say that I'm back to disliking Eren, that's not necessarily the case, but I felt a lot less invested in this plot now knowing that his parents are alive. I felt like it kind of took away some of the mystery on if Roz was lying in that relationship dynamic. And I mean, sure, the idea of what happens after Eren were to find out that Roz lied, or possibly just didn't know that his parents weren't actually dead. Either way, the idea that Roz lied to him was a really interesting plot to see how Eren would handle that. Like, what would that be, a fight scene? Like, how angry would Eren be? But so far, none of that has happened at all. Instead, the drama was more focused on Sora kind of just annoying Roz, and Eren trying to play that peacemaker role just because he wants to bring back his parents and help Roz undo the merge so that can happen. And don't get me wrong, it was a fun dynamic to see play out, but honestly lacked any real tension up until they reached the underworld, which was by far the most interesting part about this specific arc. Honestly, a lot of what came before they got to the underworld just felt like a lot of fluff and filler and just boring content besides some fun character moments. Again, we already knew that Eren's parents were alive, so that tension of are they alive isn't there, and the only thing really keeping me in that arc is what happens when Eren finds out that they're not alive. Obviously, that's not gonna happen until he rejoins the ninja. So that was one thing that made it really hard for me to get invested into the beginning of this arc. I find Galadriel to be honestly one of the the most annoying characters in Dragon's Rising, so you can imagine how excited I was for her to return. Twice. God, why? So we can just say I didn't care for most of this arc. The spectral stuff was admittedly really cool, but I guess that applies to the entire season and not just this part of the season. I also don't get why the Spectral 5 just don't talk at all. Like, all they do is just stare at you and use their little horn thing to suck up the souls, and they just send the Dragonians really to do most of the fighting. So they're just kind of there floating for most of the first half of this part, and it really feels like, again, just a huge waste of the 5, because that was a huge complaint when it came to part 1, was that we didn't really get enough of the 5. Really only a couple members got to do things, and the rest, well, yeah, they were there, I guess. Also, okay, now I know this is a major nitpick, but how did Sora get her new spectral suit and have it perfectly match the ninja? Like, I'm not complaining because I think it is honestly the best suit we've gotten out of this new wave, but like, she just kinda has it when the season starts, and this is something that's always been a weird kinda like, how did this happen when it comes to Ninjago? But this one specifically really just kinda stood out to me like, well, now hold on, how did you get that? Most of this arc, again, feels like filler to me until we get to the underworld, which finally, let's talk about that. One thing I gotta bring up before we fully break that down is I'm really liking this pattern of Eren running into past characters from the original series, and that's something I really hope to see continue into the 4th season. Given how we haven't gone to the underworld since season 11, and we're approaching the 15th anniversary with Moro coming back in season 3 part 1, this season has been by far the most nostalgic season of Dragon's Rising. It's been pretty overwhelming as a day 1 Ninjago fan, seeing all these OG things pop up here and there, literally having me go, it's the thing I know! And I know they're just putting these characters and these things in there, so we do go, oh my god, it's the thing I know, but it's working and I'm okay with it. And I'm not the biggest fan of them using the legacy designs for Cruncha and Knuckle, but honestly, I don't really care. And I was just happy to see them back, even if it was for a very short amount of time. It was awesome to see those characters again. But it wasn't just the nostalgia I loved in the Underworld section, as there was some great moments. Well, it was most certainly obvious that Roz hated Sora and had something up his sleeve, whether he wanted to use her powers for something or outright just get rid of her and Eren when the moment was right. I was not expecting him to just turn to Sora and outright be like, yeah, you need to die so I can get this dragon icon, and think Eren would just go with that. The way the tension builds up as you and Sora slowly piece together what Roz is insinuating and what he means, I really wish this season didn't leak, because my reaction was just crazy. Like, literally, I was like, oh my, like, it blew me away. Like, we knew that was coming, but the way it was done so well. I loved how he just slowly explains how the forge works as he's walking towards Sora, being like, yeah, now get in. They don't survive, they don't come back out, get in the forge, why do you think I brought you here? All of that was just so good, and it gave me literal goosebumps. It was one of the first times where in Dragon's Rising where I was actually like fully like locked in and surprised by a plot point. I feel a lot of Dragon's Rising I've been able to see a lot of the things coming, but this was one of the things where I knew generally this was coming, but in this moment it genuinely gave me that surprise and that, oh snap, so that's what we doing now, okay. This moment, suffice to say, completely saved the dragon icon arc for me, because it was honestly just, again, a waste of time before then. The fight that follows with Eren, Sora, and Roz was honestly a lot of fun. Definitely not the craziest fight fight we've had in Dragons Rising, but I love seeing how far Eren has come as a ninja and as a character from Season 1. While not being anywhere close to my favorite character or ninja, Eren most certainly knew when to stand on business this season, and he did many times. And this does show that a lot of the people like myself who thought maybe the Dark Eren theory could go somewhere and have Eren as this twist villain for the series were wrong, because as much as Eren does want to bring back his parents, he drew the line at his best friend Sora, and he was not willing to sacrifice anyone to bring back his parents, which, yeah, Eren's a good guy. He's definitely a ninja, and it shows not just in his actions, but in his training. I'm really starting to enjoy Eren towards this section of Dragons Rising, and I'm hoping Season 4 continues this track of Eren just being this on-business fighter, like ready to throw hands if the moment calls for it. But my biggest compliments to this fight scene, and weirdly enough to Eren's character, is that he's not just outright overpowered now that he knows how to use Spinjitzu and learn to fight a bit. They actually had to outsmart Roz here and do some cheeky things to defeat him, because Roz did teach him everything he knows. So naturally, like, of course he's not going to be able to defeat Roz in one-on-one combat. Like, he could probably read Eren like a book. So the fact that they didn't have Eren and Sora just dominate on this guy in the fight, and they kind of had to outplay him, was just a really nice touch to end the fight, because I know a lot of shows that would be like, alright, you got your powers now, you're overpowered. And right after that fight scene, we get my favorite scene with Eren and Sora, and that is the moment where Eren finally comes to terms that his parents are dead and he's never going to see them again. Obviously, we know that isn't true, and it does kind of pull me out of the scene just a little bit, but Eren doesn't know that here, and he literally thinks that he just lost to everyone but his best friend, even the ninja, because of how he treated them and how he betrayed them. Finally breaking down into his best friend's arms, realizing the mistake he made joining Roz and leaving the ninja. And my honest and only complaint with this scene and most of this arc is that we know his parents are alive. I might be the only one who felt this, and I'm okay with that, but just the fact, again, that I knew that they were alive made it a little bit harder to connect and get invested into this plot, versus, say, if we didn't know that his parents were alive, we got this stuff, and then we learned that his parents were alive and went to the realm of Lee. I think that would have been a lot better, but hey, maybe that's just me. But after more talking, Eren agrees to go back with Sora to the ninja, but first he just needs to visit his parents to say goodbye. And well, yes, again, this is all very well acted, and I just can't get over the fact that it really doesn't go anywhere. Like, I would have wanted him to be a lot more mad at Roz, or a lot more angry at himself, but we don't really get that, and I'm getting a little bit too ahead of myself. I know we'll get there when we get there, but Eren and Sora eventually make it to the graveyard to discover that his parents' graves have been dug up and they're empty. And maybe I'm the crazy one, but I don't think the thought I'd have after seeing my parents' graves were dug up and now missing is, well, they must be alive somewhere. I'd honestly probably just think this is like the start of the zombie apocalypse or something, and not necessarily that my parents are fine and just walking around somewhere. But ultimately that doesn't really matter, and it's just a weird nitpick, because literally seconds later they see a bunch of Lees running into the secret elevator, which finally brings us to part 2, the Land of Lee arc. Now, I gotta be honest with you guys, I'm about to go on a huge yap session when it comes to the Land of Lee. When I first heard about this arc from the leaked episode descriptions, I was not excited in the slightest bit. But again, I'm glad to say I absolutely loved the Land of Lee arc. This arc, while obviously being heavily focused on the search for Eren's parents, it does a lot for the shared storyline of Jay and Nia, and it's something I've been wanting to talk about for months now, and it's something that I've not shut up about on my channel, as the Jay storyline is by far my most invested plot in Dragon's Rising, and just the most interesting and well written. But not only does this arc do a lot for the characters of Jay and Nia, it is also filled with so much potential foreshadowing for the future of Dragon's Rising or future Ninjago projects and seasons. Between all of that, the fun we have at the Land of Lee, and the insane character development for Jay and Nia, I don't understand how people could not love this arc. Now honestly, it does begin on quite a bit of a depressing note with the death of Egalt.
You're broken. I don't want to play with you anymore.
I just don't think we had enough time with him to get me any more upset, other than the realization that my overpriced toy will never be seen in the show again. Rest in peace, Egalt. You might be missed. But for what it's worth, it really does feel like we could have gotten a lot more from this character in the future. I would have really loved to have seen Egalt in action fighting someone like Roz or the Forbidden Five, but unfortunately he just kinda gets killed off feeling pretty underused. And like my money just went down the drain. Right after that, we just decide that Zane and Pixel are no longer needed in the story. After making such a big deal of reintroducing Pixel, they leave. They just leave. They don't come back for the entire season. I can't imagine being a Zane fan right now. I truly can't. At least the Storm Zane minifigure is canon now, you know? But that's a plus, I guess. Is this going to be a trend now of Zane just being behind on all of his suits compared to the other ninja? From then on, the arc continues right where we left off in part 1, with Jay revealing that Aaron's parents are still alive, and in some place called the Realm of Lee. That apparently, the only way inside the realm is through the Realm Reassignment Portal deep in the administration, that of course only Jay can get them in for a hefty fee. After what I'm assuming is a few weeks, long enough for Jay's leg to heal, they come together on a deal for Jay to get them in to the Realm of Lee and help them find Aaron's parents, agreeing to give him as much treasure as they can find from selling things in the monastery, as well as Roz himself, and Jay can do whatever he wants to him, bringing him to his client. They then set off as what I can only describe as Ninjago's most creative, silly, fun, goofy, just most entertaining arc yet in Dragon's Rising. An arc that sets out to make huge progress in Jay's character from the jump. We get way more information on what happened to him after the merge, learning that he woke up in the Realm of Madness and was quickly found by agents of the administration from personal order of their leader, the Administrator. And oh boy, would I and do I have so much to gush about even just this little bit of dialogue, if it wasn't for the fact that at San Diego Comic-Con it was revealed that this plot line is going nowhere. Which, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a side tangent here, so forgive me, doesn't make any sense to me at all. For some reason, whoever this administrator guy is specifically wanted Jay. And if what the show itself is hinting at and what my gut is telling me, unless this storyline with Jay is going to span multiple Ninjago projects or shows, Doc and Kevin are absolutely lying to us about the administrator not being seen in Dragon's Rising. And that's not the only lie I believe was told at San Diego Comic-Con, but that's a theory for a completely different day. But for now, I'll leave you with this. Whoever this administrator guy is, with everything we know about him now and what Jay has told us this season, he's definitely one of the most important and key players in solving the mystery on how Jay lost his memories and why he ended up at the administration. Whether it does get touched on in Dragon's Rising or in a different project show, I don't believe that this plot is being abandoned, because you just don't write something in, especially something this important to a major character, and then just go, you know what, actually, never mind. Forget about it. which worryingly seems to maybe be the case for a lot of plot lines in Dragons Rising, but again, a discussion for a different day. But just note that I think they might be lying to us, because this was a pretty important moment, and some pretty juicy lore just dropped on us for it to ultimately go nowhere, given how mysterious and important Jay's story is with the administration and the merge. It leaves so many questions. I just don't see this never being touched on again, and if it's not, I don't even know what to say. When they arrive outside the administration, we are unfortunately graced with this ugly new look for Jay, as he puts back on his administration outfit to hopefully sneak in the ninja without raising any alarms. And yes, that obviously doesn't go very well, in the possibly grossest way possible. Let me explain. They enter the administration and literally get captured like on their way in, and then they escape and they almost get caught again, but they do some like really dirty gross trick where they use this guy's underwear that I guess he never washes them, and it's literally like a gas bomb stinking up the entire place. And I just need to know, how do you get, like, how long do you have to not wash your underwear for it to become like an actual like chemical weapon knocking people out in the administration? That I know that stunk. It's gross and it's stupid, but it honestly cracked me up a little bit, as well as the whole cake birthday thing and having everyone sign it. It gave me a good chuckle. But God, let it be known, I hate Jay's new haircut, and I'm really hoping they change that back in season 4. Just do a little snip right there and we'll be all good to go. While everyone is distracted, they put on these drippy new outfits so they can blend into the Land of Lee, and I really wish LEGO made these minifigures or gave us like a Land of Lee set. We got so many honestly pretty mid sets for season 3 part 2. I don't know why we couldn't have gotten like a Land of Lee like little house with a bunch of like Lee figures and then the ninja in these new Lee outfits, or even a CMF wave. I'm convinced LEGO hates us. So AliExpress, please do your thing. Also, come on, you're telling me Wildfire couldn't take on these 2 goons by herself? I know it's just nitpicking now, but like, come on. Go Nia though. But finally, the time has come and Lee is introduced into the story, and in the best way possible. They literally introduce this guy with like an entire musical number, and you can say whatever you want about most of this season, but I will take no slander towards the Land of Lee and this absolute banger of a song. Also, I did make a meme about this, but when you really think about it, it's kind of messed up how he pretty much just tells you everyone you've ever known and everything you have ever known is gone, dead, or it might show up one day. You know, your mom or dad or cat might just appear, but they're probably just dead somewhere in the merge. But it's really catchy, you know, it's a really good song. Like, he doesn't straight up say that in the song, but like he's implying that throughout most of it. So like when you really think about it, it's kind of a messed up song and a messed up like way he introduces people to this place, but it is what it is. And honestly, it kind of gives a little bit of extra foreshadowing towards the darker side of Lee's character introduced later on. This was seriously just so goofy and felt completely out of nowhere, like I was almost watching an episode of One Piece and not Ninjago, and I do mean that in the best way possible, and I hope we get a lot more just crazy different realms, cities, and places like the Land of Lee. I think we need a lot more just fun, crazy stuff like this with like really like dark, crazy twists and stuff like that like we got in the Land of Lee. Because ultimately we know that like he's lying to everybody and that there's like a whole world outside of the Land of Lee, but the way he introduces it to you is like there's nothing left. And as a realm itself, I thought this was gonna be a huge waste, but with how creative and how fun and unique the realm is and how great, in my opinion at least, the storyline attached to it was, this doesn't feel like a waste of a realm. I mean, sure, the thought of it's like a whole realm for one guy is a little crazy, but in the context of this season, man, it really works and it's a lot of fun, and I love just how unique it is compared to any of the other realms. Like, a lot of the realms are kind of similar, or are just like, you know, normal people in like the clouds, or or the underworld, or you're just an animal like in Chima, or you just have like copy and paste like the Realm of Madness and the Land of Monsters, where like essentially they just look like the exact same thing. You don't get that with the Realm of Lee. It's wacky, it's different, it feels like you're almost watching like an episode of The Truman Show with how the entire place is built to look like this weird neighborhood. You get like this weird creepy vibe to it, but it's also like really fun. It leaves you in a huge mix of emotions, and you don't really know what to make of the place when you first get there. And I think that's something that I've never felt with any of the other realms in Ninjago. You kind of know what you're getting right off the bat when it comes to those realms. And now, though I have and will continue to sing this arc's praises, I do have some negatives about it that I kind of want to touch on. I personally wish that we spent a lot more time in the Realm of Lee. Now, I know that I am way alone on that, but just hear me out, okay? I feel like we could have just cut off a lot of that early fluff with the Kai, Cold, and Frack storyline, which we will cover later, and the Aaron, Sora, and Roz stuff, and spent a little bit more time building up the Realm of Lee, having the ninja sit in there, meet a lot more of the residents, and spend a little bit more time with Lee before he makes that big switch to kind of being the villain of the arc. I feel that would have benefited this arc so much more and the story it was trying to tell. And it's kind of hard to explain why without going over the rest of the arc, so we will touch on that before we get into the next part. But I do genuinely think that what we get here is great. It should have been, and I wish it was, just a little bit longer. But after our catchy yet somewhat unsettling welcome, it is finally time to get this plot moving forward as our ninja go undercover in the Realm of Lee, and it just immediately feels off. Like in that one episode of Ben 10 with the old people where they know something's wrong but they just can't prove it. Everyone is just so happy all the time. It's honestly a little off-putting, and considering these people think everything and everyone outside the Realm of Lee is gone, something is definitely up here. Nia even suggesting that it could be mind control. This scene's a little funny later on because, shock and surprise, it actually is mind control Lee is using. Not really a big surprise, but it's from some like weird gross tentacle thing that I think we've seen before, but I don't take my word on that, alright? But whether we've seen it or not, in my opinion, this thing should just not exist at all. And honestly, I'm beginning to pray that the live action Ninjago never works out, because I don't want to have to see this thing on the big screen in like 10 to 15 years. That sounds like an absolute nightmare. This thing is hideous. The ninja and Rogue then split off into different teams except for Jay and Nia, and thank God they keep them together because God, the content we get going forward is just so good between these two. But the ninja in their different pairs start investigating and asking around the Realm of Lee to see if anyone's found Aaron's parents. And here's where the whole thing kind of felt weird to me on why Lee needed to lie to these people, and that's even kind of like pointed out in the show. So I don't want to say that this is a flaw on the arc or on the writing, but like he's brainwashing people and trying to get them to stay here and everything, and I feel like you don't need to do that because this honestly looks like a pretty fun place to stay. I mean, free food, free rent, no taxes? Come on, this is the dream place. Brainwashing and cult-like vibes of the place aside, of course. And speaking of cults, Lloyd runs into this group reading this book all about Lee and gushing about Lee, and I'm really starting to get cult-like vibes from this entire place. While on the other hand, Wildfire actually ends up meeting someone who's yet to be brainwashed by Lee and also gets the creeps from this place. Which, honestly, I'm starting to understand a lot more why he needs to brainwash people to stay here, because again, there's a lot of cult-like vibes going on here. And looking back on it, I don't know if this was intentional, but it almost kind of feels like this guy was like maybe a plant from Lee. Like Lee knew this guy was suspicious and didn't trust Lee all along because he deals with him so quickly after him and Wildfire meet and have their discussion that it almost feels like this guy was there as a little plant or like a bug to see if anyone else feels this way about Lee so he could brainwash just everybody at once. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just looking too much into it, connecting dots, plots that aren't meant to be connected, but we go from Wildfire talking to this guy to Lee literally cleaning out his house when Lloyd and Wildfire go to meet him, like he just murked the guy. Like, seriously, this scene was also, like, really, like, somewhat unsettling with him just being like, oh yeah, no, he moved down the road. This arc is so much fun, and I wish we spent, like, even up to this point, I wish we spent so much more time just with the people in the land of Lee, slowly building up the mystery, like maybe hearing someone go, oh, I haven't seen this guy for a while, I wonder where he went, and like, you know, the people not caring, I'm like, oh, why do they not care? And then we see it happen firsthand, like this kid go missing, and then have the ninja kind of slowly piece together over a couple episodes, like, holy shit, Lee's actually a menace. And that was kind of my reaction watching this season, especially in that scene where Lee's the one who opens the door all creepy, like, I was like, oh, wow. This guy's crazy. Is it screwed up that the more we find out how insane Lee is, the more I like him as a character? Immediately after that, Lloyd and Wildfire run into this quote-unquote journalist lady who's been investigating Lee since she woke up in the realm of Lee. And of course, Lloyd confirms her suspicions, and she ends up joining them for a brief moment until it's revealed that she was Lee all along. And this was one of the funniest parts of this. Like, I was not expecting a Scooby-Doo moment here with him ripping off the mask. It was me all along. That actually got me. Like, that was a really good and hilarious surprise. I watched this season a couple times with different friend groups, and every time at that moment, it got a good laugh. It got a good, like, shocked, what is that sound called? Gasp. It got a good gasp out of a couple of my friends. It was a really good time. This twist specifically was honestly a crazy one. If Lego was committed to more long-term storytelling when it came to Ninjago, this would have been like the craziest plot twist after like a good 5 to 6 episodes with her there. Some little foreshadowing in there that she's actually Lee, and you would have actually blown the internet away. And I don't want to keep yapping on about what could have been with this Lee arc, so I'll just say this. Picture this, right? The ninja get there, they're introduced, everything seems really perfect at first. They know Lee is lying, but they don't know why. As far as they know, there's no brainwashing, there's no like creepy weird stuff going on here in terms of Lee doing anything to the people, so maybe they are just kind of happy there. The ninja, you know, they stay there for a couple days, they start getting introduced to the people there, the culture, the fun, you know, maybe even some of the ninja are starting to enjoy it there. And then you start seeing the weird culty stuff throughout there. You see the people who really like Lee and really want to talk about Lee. The people who are dropping them Lee puns every 10 seconds, right? It all starts to get a little weird to the ninja. It all starts to build up and get a little bit creepy. As the season would progress, eventually Wildfire would run into said boy, and then I believe the same thing could happen. You have him go disappearing in that night. We probably heard about a couple people going disappearing here and there, you know, through passive conversations as people are walking by the ninja or something like that. And then we meet this lady, and she gives the ninja like new things. She's like, oh, I hear people go missing around here all the time. I've been investigating. And then the ninja shared their information, and then she shares some more information, but obviously because she's Lee, it's fake / somewhat true information. And then that could lead into, you know, maybe they form like this little team, and then for a couple episodes we have Lloyd, Wildfire working with them, and then ultimately they get captured. Now maybe some people wouldn't have loved that, but I really just wanted so much more of this, and I think that's a more interesting way this arc could have gone down without it being so short. Literally just because of how fun this arc was, I need more. Whether it's in the future, whether it's in a fan project, I need more Land of Lee. Please. So while all of that is going on with Lloyd and Wildfire, things are getting a lot more personal with Jay and Nia. And if all the wacky, borderline insane antics of the arc have not convinced you that this is the best storyline in Dragons Rising yet, this next part should. Focusing mainly on the relationship of Jay and Nia, now seeing firsthand the real effects of Jay's memory loss, a large chunk of this portion serves to show us that Jay may not remember who Nia is, but some part of him inside does. And that most certainly means that it is 100% possible and very likely that Season 4 could see the return of Jay Walker as we know him. I mean, the first thing we see from Jay and Nia's portion of this story is literally them romantically dancing, which, as we all know, is something they did quite often pre-merge. And it's honestly more heartbreaking than anything when you really sit down and think about it. Jay is so locked in and focused on the task of finding Aaron's parents and Roz, what you know he's being paid to do. And Nia is honestly just living her best life, happy that she's got her man back. Kind of. So honestly, for Nia, it's like everything is going good. Jay's back, they're about to find Aaron's parents, Thunderfang is defeated. What could possibly go wrong? Well, besides the fact that Lloyd and Wildfire are now missing, having already been captured by Lee, not to mention Lee is very suspicious of them to the point where he is just stalking them, turns out a lot could go wrong. Lloyd is called into the Void Realm, cosmic space of the Source Dragons. I don't know what this place is called, but he's called upon the Source Dragons, learning that Thunderfang is back and is getting more powerful than ever. And while yes, this is bad, it gets a lot worse as the Source Dragon of Balance is confirmed to be dead, which did confuse him with Strength in my first thoughts. Sorry about that. And maybe I'm even confusing this again. Please, I hope I'm not. I don't know the designs of the Source Dragons like that. I seriously need to study up on Dragons Rising lore because I'm still quite in the OG mindset. We learned that the Source Dragons at this point want nothing to do with the mortal world or the fight with Thunderfang, but you know what? Screw them because we don't need them anyways. Because it turns out mortals can actually wake the Archdragon of Focus without needing the Source Dragons. So we don't need you clowns. Get out of here. You're useless. Not doing anything. Which, by the way, they don't seem too happy about that when the idea is brought up, but again, who cares? We don't need them. What's the worst that could happen? Back with Jay and Nia, who've just managed to slip out of Lee's sight, hacking into this back room that some lady told Jay about off screen, and that nobody other than Lee is allowed back there ever. And this is what I keep saying about this arc needed to be so much longer. Because again, not only is this the most interesting arc in this entire season, but so much seems to happen off screen that just makes it feel all the more cheap that it's cut out, and it really feels like I'm missing certain parts of these storylines. And I say storylines because this isn't just a problem I have with the Land of Lee arc, but almost all of Dragons Rising as a whole feels really short for the story we're going with. But again, that is a conversation for another video that I will be working on right after this, because I have a lot to say about how Dragons Rising has been handled from a writing standpoint. And on a much brighter side, I did bring this up in my review about part 1 of this season. After years of a whiny, annoying, and wimpy Jay, he finally has his confidence back, his skills back, and they finally tapped into a long forgotten part of Jay's character, that he's an inventor. And he likes to dabble, touch of cooking, little model building, a touch of poetry, you know the drill from Jay. I feel like this series after the second season, like I'm talking season 2, the final battle, completely forgot that Jay was an inventor before he joined the ninja, that he liked building things, that he had helped Nia on the ultrasonic raider and stuff like that once Pixel kind of came into the screen. It was just more so Pixel and sometimes Nia builds everything for the ninja while the boys just go and goof around and fight all the villains. And it removed a lot of that personality from Jay, again, to make him that more goofy and silly, childlike character rather than the smart martial art warrior that he was. Because they're finally bringing back that aspect of Jay's character. Please don't get rid of it once he joins the ninja team again, because it's cool seeing Jay build stuff. Imagine him, Pixel, Zane, and Nia on even Sora in there. They could build some crazy stuff. And I'm glad to say that they keep this part of Jay's character going into part 2. It's honestly something I thought that they would just drop and completely forget about, but no, Jay is still very tech savvy in this part, and I just had to add that in here because I'm very, very happy that they're keeping this going, and once again, I'm hoping this continues into season 4. But while snooping around, it is revealed that Lee is actually the one responsible for the gravestones Roz showed Eren back in part 1, which honestly kind of confirms that I was right. A lot of people think Roz was lying to him. Roz isn't a liar. Sure, maybe sometimes he bends the truth a bit, except for with Jay, he kind of did just straight up lie to Jay. But I genuinely do think he thought Eren's parents were dead. Now, maybe he's lying about the merge bringing them back. That still remains to be seen. We don't really know anyone that is confirmed 100% dead from the merge, where I'm kind of hoping we do, because I'm really curious to see how truthful Roz really was when it comes to Eren. And also, where did Roz get the information that undoing the merge would bring them back? I guess maybe Wu will be our best bet to see what happens with him after the merge. I don't care that Cole said Wu's not dead. Look at Wu, he's dead. What I most likely think happened here was Roz stumbled across the graves, or Roz's master found them, and then they just were kind of like, well, I guess we could use this. Wu caused the merge. We'll tell this kid who definitely has some kind of power that Wu killed his parents, and then he's gonna be like, man, forget those ninja. Let's undo this merge. And it did work until he was like, yo, let's go kill your girl. And he was like, wait a minute. But yeah, ultimately it was revealed that Roz wasn't lying, and he just actually thought that they were dead. But of course, we now know that those graves are in fact empty, and the names on those are just people who ended up getting reassigned to the realm of Lee, or just unfortunately waking up in the realm of Lee, which Jay does confirm that the graves are empty by using his lightning to dig them up, which does alert the Lees of their position, bringing on a really fun chase and action sequence with Lee, Jay, and Nia. And Jay brings up a pretty valid question on, does killing one Lee kill all the Lees, or just that Lee? And he was absolutely ready to find out. WJ. And as for the answer to that question, while we don't know for sure, given how Lee getting his soul suck turned him hollow, turned all the Lee clones hollow, I'm going to assume it's the same deal if you take one out. But I'm not sure yet. You'd have to ask Doc and Kevin. I'm not sure if they'd answer that, but I'm not. But you know, they're the only ones who would know. If I ever get an interview, that's the first question I'm asking. Unfortunately though, Nia stops Jay from giving us the answer right before he's about to do it, and then Eren's parents just so happen to be walking in that same place where Jay and Nia are, and they're like, oh my god, it's the ninja! And this kind of just makes Lee look like a really dumb villain, because he could you very easily find out who they're looking for, and the fact that Lee didn't do anything to like hide them, move them to a further part of town, or immediately brainwash a ninja or something is like, bro, what are you doing? Like, I feel like if I was Lee in this moment, and I heard that the ninja were looking for Barry and Jenny, and I hadn't brainwashed them yet, and I know that these people who know I'm lying and are actively looking to ruin my plans are now looking for these two people, I would immediately take those two people into the brainwashing room and brainwash them, so even if the ninja do find them, they're low-key kind of cooked anyways. But that's just me. Anyways, it just feels kind of unsatisfying that this is how the ninja find Eren's parents, and it's not through some like super crazy detective work or ninja-ing they do in the land of Lee. I don't know if that's a word, but you could pretty obviously guess that I really liked that they had the whole whiteboard there with the conspiracies on what Lee's doing and where the missing neighbor's going. Again, bro, like, this arc should have been longer, because all this is so much more interesting than whatever the heck we got when it came to Kai, Cole, and Frack. Barry and Jenny point out that how when neighbors do go missing, they eventually come back and they act really different than they used to, and they're just glazers successors of Lee, which they accurately come to the theory of mind control, which earlier they turned that down, but Jay kind of thinks to himself, if they use it in such a small amount, then maybe they get away with it and it wouldn't be detected. And from kind of piecing everything together from their conversation in the whiteboard, they kind of quickly piece together what's going on here and where Lloyd and Wildfire are most likely being kept. So now that the back room is being heavily guarded by two Lees, which it should have always been in the first place if that's where you're brainwashing people, by using Jenny cosplaying as Jay and Nia as bait to lure them away, Jay and Barry go and hack the door. And this is one of my favorite scenes of the arc because it really shows the struggle in Jay's character, as Barry just keeps bringing up stuff from Jay's past life before the merge, kind of soft confirming to Jay that everything the ninja have been saying to him might actually be true. But at this point, Jay is just not ready to handle it, and I don't blame him. He is just now finding out for himself who he thinks he is and what feels right for him after years of people at the administration and Roz lying to him, telling him who he was, the life he used to live. Jay finally feels like he's found himself. He's confident, he knows who he is, and I can imagine how annoying and difficult it is to keep having all these different people coming into your life and telling you who they think you should be and who you are, even though it is the truth. And it's getting vastly harder and harder for Jay to deny that, with everything being considered. I mean, literally random people who no one has ever met are even bringing up things of Jay being a ninja, although maybe the game show wasn't the best thing to bring up if you're trying to convince someone that they used to be a ninja. You can really start to see at this point the build up for what will be Jay's eventual crash out later on in the season, which is my second favorite scene in the season. My favorite scene is much later on in episode 20, I think it was, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But again, at this moment, while it not being the exact moment Jay crashes out, this definitely had a huge impact on that moment, and the later moment. I truly think that this is a scene that's going to get overlooked by a lot of Ninjago fans, but in my opinion, this is one of the most important scenes we've gotten this entire season. And the scene after is honestly just as good. It also sends me off on another small little tangent here, because this scene fully proves my point that this arc did need to be at least an episode or two long. Now, I know I might be getting annoying with this statement, but this is the last time I'll talk about it. On the surface, this scene is great and helps to tell us that while the old Jay is surely dead and gone, that doesn't mean that there's not hope for this Jay to still find his place with Nia and the ninja. And it's a really great scene until you stop to think that her and Jay have really only interacted for like 3 minutes on screen, maybe. And I don't buy that she's got Jay and Nia all figured out in just those couple minutes. It would have made a lot more sense if we had seen Aaron's parents a lot earlier, or she had seen them a lot earlier, like when they were dancing, or in the small little moments where we still see that slight romantic connection between the two of them, but Jenny never sees any of that. All she really sees is Jay locked in on the mission and trying to kill Lee. And it just kind of comes across as a pretty cheap way of telling the audience that isn't paying attention that there is still some of Jay in Jay, and that he's not fully gone. He's not fully shattered his soul yet. And again, it's a great scene on its own, but I just don't think it works given how much time Jenny spent with Jay and Nia. It's just not enough time, in my opinion, for her to come to those kind of conclusions. Wildfire and Lloyd break out, causing the alarm to sound, getting all the Lees to assemble for the big final fight of the arc. And also our first real fight of the arc, as we've had almost no action in this entire arc up until this point. And again, that's not a complaint, because I wanted a lot more of them just sitting around. This is also our first real fight with Jay alongside the ninjas since Crystallized, and it does honestly feel like he's back in part of the team again. So maybe Jenny was onto something, even in that short amount of time. A quick fix that just came to my mind as I'm recording this is you could have had that scene with Jenny and Nia right after all of this, where she could have seen them interact a little bit more. Have Jay and Nia working together a little bit more in the fight, and that would have made that scene between Jenny and Nia so much more perfect than where they originally placed it. But again, nitpick. This is also where the previous arc, the Dragon Icon arc, integrates with this arc as Sora and Eren finally make their way into the Land of Lee for the most fun fight scene in the entire series. Like, seriously, it's insane. Like I said, Jay is back, and he's also got himself a new overpriced Lego set, which I can't wait to buy this set and have it never shown again. And we really get to see how overpowered Lee's elemental power, but realm, what are we calling Lee's powers, guys? We get to see how Lee's powers fully work, and God, this is just, it's so much fun. And why didn't we get a Land of Lee set? I can imagine how crazy the armies of Lees people would have and the crazy things you could do with them. Because look, we see Lee make like a giant fist with himself. We see Lee make like a hand. He's got hordes of himself that are just these enemies. It's such a fun and wacky fight scene because there's so many goofy things that they do with Lee, and having Jay get in there. Why didn't we get a set? Sorry, but my point was, it was a really fun fight until the ending, which dives into a story trope that I really don't like, that we do see a lot in like animes and stuff, and that is the talk no jutsu, where Sora essentially just talks the guy out of fighting, and it's a really underwhelming way to end such a fun fight scene. Because I'm not a fan of the story trope, I'll keep this section of the recap as short as I can without being too negative, because I love this arc and I don't want to talk bad about it. It's just, at least in my opinion, a really anticlimactic way to end the arc and the fight. Though it wasn't necessarily disappointing how the arc as a whole ended, just the fight scene, because what happens after the fight ends is honestly pretty fun. Number 1, after 55 episodes of wait, the biggest moment for Eren's character, finally Eren is reunited with his parents, and while this moment was really brief, this was no doubt one of the most heartwarming moments in all of Dragon's Rising, and I think was pretty well worth the 3-year wait. But just when it feels like they finally have a moment of peace, an administration portal opens and the hollowed husks of administration workers walk out in Ninjago's creepiest and most zombie-like scene. I've said it so many times on this channel, and I'll say it again. I freaking love me some zombie content, and though the hollowed ones aren't necessarily zombies, you gotta admit, between Kerr and now these hollowed people, the zombie vibes this season are off the charts. I'm surprised they didn't release this in October with how Halloween and zombie and ghost inspired this whole season is. You could bet I ate up every second whenever a hollowed person was on screen, especially in moments like these where they make them look like they're actually zombies with how they're walking around like going along with that really eerie OST as the portal opens. It was all just so well executed. The fear in Eren's face and the horror in Sora's voice as they both realize what's happening, as at this point they're the only ones who have come across these spectral Dragonians and hollowed people. Before one of them can even say anything, Lee's soul is sucked out, and it ends the arc in the best way possible for me as a zombie fan, with all the zombie Lees like just going over the camera like this, and oh my god, it was so good. It gave me chills. It had me clapping when the episode ended. It was fantastic and a great end point for the Land of Lee arc. This arc, though I do have a lot of problems with it, is again my favorite arc in all of Dragon's Rising and my favorite moments this season. And if given its own parts, like its own 10-episode run, I truly believe this would have been my favorite season or part in the entirety of Ninjago. But since it was so short and being chopped around with other stuff, I'm still gonna have to give my favorite stuff to the Blood Moon and Sons of Garmadon. But the Land of Lee is a very close third, bringing us right into part 3, Ryu's training arc. I have absolutely nothing of value to say or commentate about this arc. Ryu does training with, what's her name again? Ryu does training with Rontu, and that's about it. That's the arc. So, part 4, the Screaming Earth arc. Again, I'm pretty sure I made it clear earlier, but this is another arc I just don't really care for. Now, I know that is a pretty harsh way of starting out this section of the video, and it's honestly not going to be a very long section, because as much as I loved going on for, what, probably like 30-40 minutes about the Land of Lee and the Dragon Icon stuff, there is, again, not really anything I liked about this arc. In fact, it kind of pissed me off quite a lot. Okay, 90% of this felt like an absolute waste of screen time, although those new prismatic blades were pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I really like the prismatic blades. And so I don't forget to mention this earlier, this was something that I actually got pointed out to me in a Weavy video, but Cole does have some pretty important foreshadowing here with what could be happening with the merge, and that the merge is still going. I'll play the clip right here.
I was hearing his call. It's not like the ghost voice drew me a map. The terrain out here seems different. Could the realms still be shifting after the merge?
Who knows? Maybe that explains why it's dark out already.
It's pretty interesting, and if you want to know more about this specific theory and what could be going on there, go watch Weavy's video about it, because I really don't want to talk about this arc any more than I have to, alright? The fight scenes were cool. Him and Cole versus Noct was somewhat fun, but god, they ruined Cole in this arc. Like, at least in part 1, they didn't know what to do with Cole, so they just didn't put him in the part. In part 2, it feels like they were like, well, we gotta have Cole in this season, like maybe some kind of contractual requirement with Andrew Francis, or something with Lego where they wanted Cole in the season more, but like this arc only served to like ruin Cole's character even more than it was already just kind of going downhill. It made Kai really cool though. I really loved the fight scene with Kai and Frack when they get the new prismatic blades. I think the blades look absolutely awesome, and I loved how they worked in Imperium still having that place as an important piece of the story, even though we're kind of done with the whole Imperium stuff since season 1. But like, genuinely, Dork Squad, Cole feels like so much smarter of a character. Not even feels like, Cole is so much more of a smarter character than to just charge in at Noct when he knows that he can't do any damage to him. I don't know what Cole is thinking. And we've never seen Cole this angry before. Like, we talked about this in a live stream I did a couple days ago, which, by the way, if you haven't joined the lives, be sure to come join those. We have a lot of fun talking about Ninjago and playing games. But one of the things that we had discussed was the fact that, think about when Cole saw Jay in the tournament, or matter of fact, when all of the ninja except for Nia and Kai saw Jay in the tournament, none of them cared. Like, none of them cared. Cole, supposed to be his absolute best friend in the entire world, all he had to say was,
Jay could never forget Nia, or any of us. Is that some kind of fake Jay? Some loser in a J-wig?
We don't know what happened to Jay after he disappeared in the merge.
not, oh my god, Jay, I missed you, you're my best friend, like Nia was. Nia was like, oh my god, the love of my life, Jay, you're back. No, Cole just didn't care. And even when they were at the monastery, he went, still no memories, alright. Cole just didn't care at all. Cole feels so out of character in Dragon's Rising, it is insane. And the fact that none of the ninja even cared about Jay really bugs me. Like really bugs me. I also know it's important that we see Frack's training, but it's not more important over more Land of Lee. And I don't like Frack as a character. So with all that being said, part 5, Chaos Reigns arc. So hopefully third time's the charm. Finally, we've reached the final arc, and yes, I've tried to record this bit like a billion times now. It kept getting some errors, so I've massively condensed what was originally supposed to be another hour-and-a-half section into however long this final version is going to be. I've talked a lot about this on stream, but let's get into the final arc, because there's a lot to say about this. At some moments, I am like, peak! And then in others, so you could see I'm super mixed on what comes next. So we'll begin with going that Roz eventually does get his dragon icon by killing somebody. Who? I don't know. All we have is this little hat. Rest in peace, whoever you, I don't, whoever you are. Rest in peace, I guess. I don't know. But now we are back in the land of Lee for the last little bit of their section here. And again, this is just the coolest Ninjago has ever looked. It kind of reminds me of The Walking Dead Season 6 a little bit, with how all the zombie-ish Lees are walking all around. It looks like a big horde, and there's all these spectral ghosts and everything. I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching a bit, but it kind of gave me those vibes, which was really cool. And also, unfortunately, I do have to say that this is kind of the last good fight of the season. Unfortunately, and we'll discuss it more when we get to those points, but a lot of the rest of the fights in this season just didn't really land for me. And unfortunately, this fight is also kind of cut short. I mean, Jay just literally dips halfway through the fight. And after Jay leaves, more and more people, almost everybody in the land of Lee, begins to get hollowed. They really stayed just for just to watch everybody get hollowed. Like, they weren't doing anything. We know they couldn't do anything. Really, the smart plan was to leave with Jay, but eventually they get out there and they catch back up with Jay, and Aaron and Lloyd finally share a moment on the bounty. Unfortunately, it seems like Aaron is back to whining. We were close to greatness, but not quite there yet, apparently. And also, I gotta throw this out there, it is starting to become the most annoying thing that they refuse to say Moro's name in this show. Even in the credits, he's Spectral Ninja. It's really not that deep, but it annoys me. I wish, they're just dodging around it. Hopefully, maybe it's because they want a big reunition. They want Lloyd and Moro to reunite on screen without Lloyd knowing Moro's out there and helping. Maybe that's what they're going for. I don't know. Moro might actually just be dead. Anyway, the ninja travel to the Spectral Lands to see what's going on there and reunite with Moro, only to, yes, find Thunderfang has eaten everybody and taken over the Spectral Lands. And we get a really lame kind of chase scene where they find one of those hidden monasteries. They go to the Tournament Temple City, and there's a whole section there with Blecht. And I don't know, just like with Season 2, I just kind of get bored as soon as we enter the Tournament Temple City. It's the temple of underwhelming content, if you ask me. And unfortunately, the season doesn't really pick up from here. They learn from Blecht that there is a way to awaken the Archdragon of Focus in order to defeat Spectral Thunderfang, who at this moment is almost becoming more powerful than a Source Dragon if he gets all the souls he needs. So you would think that what they're building towards here is going to be insane. Blow your mind. Oh my God! This was garbage! Yeah, unfortunately, the final battle of this arc, or I should say final battles, really didn't hit me at all. Honestly, they were kind of a snoozer. Now listen, I don't want to be super negative about the last bit of this season, because there were some great moments, like the bell sound and the way the Archdragon wakes up, which again got me really hyped, thinking I was in for an insane battle of Dragon versus Spectral Dragon. No, we didn't get that, but the awakening scene was cool. At least this might be my new ringtone going forward. Honestly, it's a beautiful melody. It might actually have to be my ringtone. But again, the fight that follows is just as well as the fights with the Forbidden Five. I mean, I guess they were a lot cooler than the Thunderfang fight, although I did enjoy the fight with Kai, Nia, Zarkt, and Jay. Although you really just are putting most of my favorite ninja against an absolute clown that I love seeing get dunked on. So I guess I was naturally gonna like that fight scene anyways, but it was really good to see Jay come back, and the scene that followed is just absolutely beautiful, and it really does feel like we're nearing the end of Jay's arc. Although I'm not sure how I even feel about Jay getting his memories back. I'm sure we've talked about this so many times in this video, but I really like where Jay's character is at right now, and I honestly think I like the direction that they might be going with Jay not getting his memories back, but finding his place on the team as this Jay. And it definitely seems seems like all of his goodness isn't shattered, so that's exciting. Jay is back, and if you've seen the leaks, Jay is back. Obviously, they defeat Thunderfang in the most underwhelming way. I don't know, maybe some people thought it was cool, but I really just wanted the dragon on dragon brawl. You know what I mean? I wanted something like in all seriousness, Thunderfang may have flopped as a character, but man, the set, his design, and his voice is just awesome. But okay, negativity on the rest of this arc aside, let's get to what you guys want to hear me talk about and what I am dying to talk about, and that's the ending of this season. Look, the beginning was peak. The middle, though I dislike it, I don't hate it as much as I've skipped over most of it because I just don't feel like there's much for me to talk about with most of this, especially when it comes to the Cole and the Ryu stuff. It's just a whole bunch of rants and just complaining. But this made all of that worth it, and is why I've stuck to this video and I've stuck to glazing this season and saying it's one of my favorite seasons. I love so much of this, and this ending just solidified this as one of the best seasons of Ninjago for me, because this ending, oh my god. Let's finally get to it. So right after defeating Thunderfang, as the ninja are about to go through all the portal gates, leaving their mechs behind, by the way. Yeah, I know, I noticed that, so you can make some more sets for next year. You're not slick, but as they are going to leave, all the ninjas start having this weird feeling, and it's revealed that Roz has Wu in the box, and he's messed with the portals. We learn that a bunch of the Source Dragons have just seemingly abandoned humanity, and a bunch of the Elemental Masters lose their powers, or seemingly. The way it is shown is almost horrifying in a way, like they're in pain and anguish, especially the way Sam Vincent portrayed it with Lloyd at the end there. It gave me like this chilling feeling that I haven't gotten watching Ninjago in a long time, that like we're finally getting towards something here in Dragons Rising, and this is gonna be the start of it. I'm really excited to see where we go in season 4, what's going on with the powers, and where are the ninja? I forgot to bring this up, but when they go through the portals, they don't end up in Ninjago City or at the monastery. They end up in a bunch of mysterious realms that, you know, we can take our guesses. Please be team up, please be team up, please. But I would safely guess that Kai, Nia, and Jay are probably in the land of monsters, about to have the absolute worst times of their lives. I'm very excited for that. Wildfire, Frack, and Sora, I'm honestly not sure where they ended up. I think it could be Primeval's Eye, or the Forever Rock, or most likely Lloyd and Aaron ended up in Shima, or again Primeval's Eye. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Maybe it's just I'm just green area. But please be Shima, please be. We'll have to see where that goes into season 4, but as a cliffhanger, this is by far, this is like Sons of Garmadon level cliffhanger for me. It's just an absolute jaw dropper and left me stunned and literally starving for more content. Like, what is taking so long? Where is season 4? Part 6, Thunderfang. So I did want to talk about Thunderfang a little bit more in his own section. Overall, now that the entire season is done, I really want to say I loved Thunderfang, and he was the best villain we've ever had in Ninjago, and since they planned him from the beginning, he did so many cool things, but Thunderfang didn't do anything. In part 1, sure, that was awesome, right? Thunderfang was this looming menace that once he was free, he was going to let chaos reign, and then in part 2, he just kind of stands there and does nothing the entire season. And it's not even like the ending fight was good. It honestly does have me a little worried for how well can the writers handle some of these bigger villains that they're boosting up. If Thunderfang was a flop and just stood around all day, what do we expect from Roz's master? Are we gonna get the same thing there? It's got me a little worried for the future. I can't lie to you guys. I'm still excited for season 4, as I said, but when it comes to things like Roz's master, seeing how they've handled the 5 and Thunderfang, I'm a little worried that I'm once again gonna feel left underwhelmed by a huge villain that's been built up over these seasons. Again, though, I do want to give props where props is due. Thunderfang's design is insanely awesome. awesome, and just as a set is one of my favorite Ninjago sets I've ever owned. It's just, he has such a cool design. It was such a fun set to build and display. And again, Devin Mack voiced Thunderfang so well. I love the voice they gave him, but he just does nothing. So ultimately, Thunderfang is a cool character and concept, but at the end of the day, mid-tier villain. Part 7, the Forbidden Frauds. Yes, one of everyone's favorite topics right now is the Forbidden 5. I clowned on them a lot, especially Zarked in my part 1 review, but man, they really didn't do anything in this season. Me personally, I think they should have allowed the Spectral 5 to talk. I think that would have made it a lot cooler, but no, they're just silent mutes the whole season. I know Krusty in my first impressions had said that it kind of lends some creepiness to it, and I can see where people would be coming from with that kind of take, especially given the Cole section. I think it really worked there, but I don't know, when we're talking about like Zarked versus, you know, Nia and Kai and Jay and Kerr versus Wildfire and all of them, I would have loved some banter back and forth, kind of like, you know, almost like a demon and Demon Slayer, you know, have some banter while they're fighting, you know, something else there to keep the fight juicy and fun that ultimately they just didn't do with the 5. And I mean, I guess Kerr and Zarked finally got some good fight scenes with the ninja, so now every Forbidden 5 member has had a fight scene, and these are some of the best fight scenes we've gotten with the 5, especially the Jay and Kerr fight, the Jay and Zarked fight. But for what were supposed to be some of the most powerful villains in all of Ninjago, they certainly got beat quite a lot and died very easily. And I don't want to rant on it anymore, because this could bring me down an entire ramble of what I think of everything from the villains down to Ninjago's power system. I think all of that goes into how Ninjago failed the Forbidden 5 and Thunderfang. Maybe it's a video for another day, but I kind of think this does tie into how Ninjago handles the power system and the ninja and their fights. Ultimately, I think that is what has led to the disappointment of Thunderfang in the Forbidden 5, but that is a discussion for another day. Looks like the Forbidden 5, Forbidden Fumbles. So what's next for Ninjago? Obviously, we have season 4, the 15th anniversary, and the live action movie, so we're no strangers. We're not stranded or starving for future content. But what's next for Ninjago in the story? Where do we go in season 4? What happens with the powers? Where are the ninja? And will they be able to handle Roz's master and the big, ginormous expectations that there are for this villain when he or she eventually shows themselves on screen? That's what I don't know. That's what I don't know. Ninjago has always been a series of ups and downs, but just like with Crystallize, I don't know how many downs more we can take. We've had some amazing ups in Dragon's Rising, don't get me wrong. I love season 3. The Blood Moon is just some of the best Ninjago content there is, period. It is absolute cinema, but I'm very worried. I am worried when it comes to the villains. When it comes to the arcs with Jay and Nia, no, I know they're cooking. 1,000 billion trillion % faith in the writers for that stuff. I know they're pulling that off. I know they're gonna pull off the whole mystery about the merge and Wu. My only worries are how the villains are going to end up landing. It's a mixed bag, but I do think the future of Ninjago and what is coming next is still looking extremely bright, even though we are hitting some down spots along the road. I do still think sticking with the ninja, and especially for me, sticking with this franchise since day 1 has absolutely been worth it, and it feels more and more rewarding as we go on and as more things happen and Ninjago grows as an IP. Once again, what is next for Ninjago? I think a lot of big things, a lot of ups, definitely some downs, but I think a lot of ups, and I'm excited to cover it for the entire road. What do I give Dragon's Rising Season 3 Part 2? Honestly, I give it a pretty darn good out of 10. It was a really good season. I really enjoyed a lot of it, but again, some of it could have been better. I really wish the season didn't leak, and going forward, I think I'm gonna stay clear of the leaks. I love doing the reaction videos. I love doing all those, and it's a shame I didn't get to react to it for this because of the leak situation, but hopefully with season 4, this doesn't happen again. That is all from me. We've been here long enough. I now pass it on to you, Dork Squad. What are your thoughts on Dragons Rising Season 3 or just Season 3 Part 2? Let me know all your thoughts down below. I'd love to chat with you guys down there and see what the community is feeling about this part. I haven't watched any reviews or anything for this besides talking to some creators, so I'm excited to finally go out there and really see what the community has to say about this season. Those are my thoughts. I can't wait to hear it from you guys. And once again, thank you to my wonderful channel members for supporting the channel and videos just like this. And there's some extra of you guys in here. I wanted to make sure that everyone who did get a membership over the past 2 months while I wasn't uploading, working on this review, only doing streams, got their time to shine on the channel. So if you're like, hey, I'm not a member, why am I on this list still? That's why you're on the list. It's a sincere thank you for being a member. And huge apologies for the lack of content since Season 3 Part 2 has released. I took on a huge load with this video, but finally it's there. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. Hit that like, comment, and subscribe if you are new here, and I will see you, Dork Squad, in the next video. Peace out. Finally, I'm done!